All right, the experts are lying to you everywhere, all the time, especially when it comes to cars and the car market. I've got a thing or two to say about our good friends Ray Shefska over there at Car Edge. I'm calling you guys out. I've had enough. This is Bid Nerds. We're going to make some predictions. The bidding starts now. Bid Nerds is your YouTube car game show. Yeah, we are going hard right out of the gate. Come on.
It's Easter, man. Candy and fluffy bunnies. Go, Shefska, run. JP's coming for you.
He does. He's not paying attention because they don't pay attention to anything. Those guys, look, this show, welcome. This is Bid Nerds. My name is John Polnick. I'm your host for the next hour, coming to you live from the Container Park in downtown Las Vegas, the Rami Studio. And right over there is my partner, Michael Deeb, right next to me in San Francisco. How you doing, Michael Deeb?
Happy Easter, everybody.
That is right. Okay, if you're new to the show, what we do here is we find the most interesting cars from Bring a Trailer, Cars and Bids, PCAR Market, all those auction sites, those online enthusiast auction sites, and we have conversations about specific listings. We analyze those listings. We make predictions, and we always start off every episode by going over and reconciling the predictions that we made on the last episode. So we put our money where our mouth is. Unlike Car Edge, I want to bring up Car Edge. Zach and Ray, the father and son duo over there, they're on every day, every morning. I think it's like 9 o'clock in the morning on Pacific time. So they're on the East Coast, right? They do the show every day, like probably noon their time or something. And they're on there every day. You know, they make our thumbnails look bright and positive. Like, like we're always kind of like doom and gloom and trying to do the whole clickbaity thing to try to get new people to come on. These guys are just like, it's always flames. It's always the end of the world. Dealers are desperate. But these guys, they can't see past their, like, they've got their shoes, and that's where they're looking. But they think they're looking at the future because 2 shows ago, they're like, oh, dealers have so much inventory, they'll never get rid of it. And then the tariffs come out, and they're like, oh, the tariffs are going to cause the prices to spike. It's like one side of their ass, and the other side of their ass is like, pick a lane, you guys. You have no idea what you're talking about. They are one of the worst purveyors of the idea that tariffs are kind of like a one-to-one increase in price. It's like, okay, if there's a 10% tariff, that means there's going to be a 10% increase in the retail price. Like, they completely get it wrong. It's not how it works. We've talked about it on this show, and we could talk about it again at some point. But
did they have you on? We had Ray on the dad,
and they never had us on. We had Ray on.
I thought they had you on. They never had you on in turn.
No reciprocating. No reciprocating.
That's a bummer.
They'll never invite me on the show though, because I'll be just like, you guys stop like Chicken Littling. I thought we were bad at this. They just like for real though. They keep saying that prices are gonna just skyrocket, and then like literally a couple of paragraphs later, they'll be like, oh, these darn dealers won't lower their prices and nobody can afford cars, so no one's gonna buy cars, and they have all this inventory. It's like, yeah, well, if you increase prices, you lower demand, and fewer people will buy cars, and guess what? Prices will go down. And then apparently there's a report that came out that this is the biggest month-over-month sales increase in a few years. The dealer inventories are down by like 10% because there has been a surge of people trying to get in front of the tariff price increases, if there even will be any. So that did move some metal this particular month, but that's just like 1 month. It's like they get one little speck of data, and then that's all they can do. They never look any further than a couple of inches for those guys. So Ray, I'm calling you out. Come on the show and let's have it out, or bring me on your show, bro. Let's do this. Come on. They always have Brandon, and he knows smart guys. He knows Brandon from Car Questions Answered. He knows that it's like, no, that doesn't jive, guys. Anyways, hop in.
Typical car podcasters, JP, just talking out of their butt.
You know how that's all we do. That's for sure. But our butts are right. Our butts are consistently correct, and that's what we do. The big thing is though,
our butts like consistently stink.
Yeah, well, I mean, the thing is, we do want to pay attention to what's going on in the market because it does affect what's going on. The numbers don't lie. The classic cars, the good classic cars things like old air-cooled 911s that are clean. Stuff like that is continuing to do well. Modern used cars, not so much. We're going to go ahead and look at the results of the auctions we talked about in the last episode. But before we do that, shout out to our good friends at Porsche Henderson. Grand opening last Thursday. Yeah, they just had the big opening. That was a great event. Thank you for inviting the bid nerds to that event, Gary and Paul and Mikey. We had a great time. Of course, Julie rocked it over there. Everyone was dressed great. All kinds of really cool activations in there. And we all just had a great time. So thanks again, and congratulations to our friends at Porsche Henderson. And of course, Gaudin Classic. They're part of that group. All right, let's get to the auction results. I'm raring to go. What's the first car on the list, buddy?
All right, JP. As you know, I have been hired to be the in-house auction specialist for Club Wheelhouse in Corte Madera, California. We had our first listing under the new Club Wheelhouse account on Bring a Trailer, and it was none other than this 2018 Mercedes AMG GTR. This car was listed on BAT out of Mill Valley, California, and is showing 10,000 miles on the odometer. The interesting aspect of this car, JP, is that it was originally a Canadian origin car. The car was sold new out of Vancouver. Shortly after, in 2019, it was imported into the U.S., spent some time in Texas, and then it spent some time here over the last year and a half in the Bay Area with its current owner. The car is spectacular. GTRs are, was I asleep on this car until I drove it. The thing is absolutely a fire-breathing menace. When you drive it in regular mode, the car is totally civil. It's a luxury. It's a Grand Tour. It's a beautiful car to drive. It's very comfortable. But when you switch that dynamic controller into sport or race, this car becomes a GT3, and it absolutely rocks. So, super cool car. They were about $180,000 when they were brand new. They have depreciated like a typical sort of premium luxury asset. This one may be a slower than, say, like an S-Class sedan or a big SUV, but it has depreciated all the same. So we listed the car. We got some great photographs. We went to market with it. JP, according to Classic.com, a domestic AMG GTR typically sells in the secondary market for around $149,000. You came in with your bid at $122,000, and we had Rami in studio. Rami hanging out inside the Rami studio. That's like watching Diddy drink his own vodka kind of thing. But anyways, Rami went all in on this car. His bid was $150,000. JP, our car hammered for $108,000 where it sold on 25 bids. And I will slightly confess that Bring a Trailer covered a couple of bucks to meet the reserve that had already been put in place. So this car did just make it across the finish line. It sold. What I'm happy to report is the folks at Club Wheelhouse, all the folks who commented on the listing, and all the bidders that engaged in the thing, by all accounts, Club Wheelhouse has successfully launched its own brand with a beautiful car, beautiful assets, a great auction all the way around. Everything was fantastic, and the car sold. I think, if we're being totally honest, we were all hoping this car would have brought a little bit more money, but the car sold, and on we go. It's like you count the victory, even if it was ugly, and you move on and you go forward. So, by all accounts, we're thrilled that Wheelhouse is on the board, and hopefully will stay on everybody's radar as we bring more sort of premium cars to market. So, thank you to Kev, the photographer. Thank you to our seller for entrusting us with the car. Thank you to Club Wheelhouse for entrusting me with the auction. JP, you opened the show talking about how some of these premium collectible vintage cars, assets that we see and we know and we can sort of count on to move upward, with time and with the market on those collectible things. But luxury cars, younger cars are falling. It's been this decline of depreciation. And I'd say a car like this with a comparable sale just a few months ago that we were sort of using as a watermark on where we gauged or where we predicted this one would sell, it was $15,000 higher, and this car didn't quite make it to that. And by all accounts, this car was the twin of the one that brought several dollars more just a few months ago. So is that exactly what we're talking about when we examine the result here, where we're all maybe expecting this car to bring, another 10, 12 grand or something like that? What do you think?
Yeah, I do think that this is an exact example why the Car Edge guys, Ray and Zach, don't know what the absolute F they're talking about. Cars like this, this is An absolutely spectacular car. You guys did a great job getting it out the door, but here it is. The price is way down from what it would have been just 6 months ago. Prices have been falling on used cars for the past 24 months, and it is most affecting late model used stuff like this. These are luxury cars, right? These are cars that are an option. Cars that are late model, let's say you had something like an Explorer, not an Explorer, but like a Toyota 4Runner, right? That's something that's kind of in demand, or a Sienna or something like that. If you have a 2019 or newer Sienna with low miles, those prices are creeping up a little bit because the brand new ones, there actually is a little bit lower of supply. So people are looking for a less expensive alternative, and they're looking for the low mileage used ones. In a lot of cases, they're about the same price as the new ones. So it's like depending on the model and make that you're looking for in the used car world, a lot of times you're better off going and buying the brand new version. But something like this beautiful sports car, there's only so many people out there in the market for fantastic, fun sports cars that are depreciating. The people that are spending $100,000 or more on sports cars are buying classics that are going to hold their value or appreciate. You can go on any marketplace. You can go on Auto Trader or anywhere where you can find cars for sale, and you can find AMG GTRs. They're all over the place. They're not as common as a minivan, but this is not a difficult car to find. And there go. Prices are just gonna continue falling. I don't care what people say about tariffs. Even the only caveat to that is if we get an announcement in the market, let's say the current administration says, all right, we're going to do 0% tariffs, reciprocal tariffs, and now the trade war suddenly ends. Now we're off to the races. And I think that probably will happen at some point. But is that going to happen this month? Is that 2 months away, 6 months away, 18 months away? I think we're in for a bumpy road for a little while, and I think ultimately it's going to end in a spike in the market because the economy will be coming back in a big way as we cut costs and find some ways to save some money for the country. But all that said, I think now is the time to sell because people are still thinking like, oh, prices are going to spike, prices are going to go up, inflation's going to go up, we better sell our car. And Deep, you did a great job getting the most possible money for a car that I think had a lot of challenges, even though it was a great car by itself.
Well, we have Mikey in the comments who thinks that the GTR should have held the juice, but the hardest part about this car wasn't so much the depreciation of a contemporary luxury car as much as it was for its Canadian origin. So, JP, do you think with this particular result, not to discount what you're saying because it's true, and we're going to examine a new luxury car in this week's predictions, but do you think a part of that could be attributed to the fact that this car started life as an import from a different country?
No, it's here already. The problem with an import car is that it's not here, right? If your car is in Canada, you got problems. Good luck. You're not going to sell it in America. It's going to be very difficult. It's even worse if it's in Europe or across some ocean. Right. But once it's here, it's fine. People, that's actually, and a lot of times the European cars, are kind of better versions of those cars than they are in America because some of the American stuff is. Anyways, I don't want to get into that rabbit hole. All right, let's move on to the next car.
All right, JP, we're gonna circle back to this really interesting car, 1996 Porsche 911 Carrera 4S with a 6-speed manual that was running with just 33,000 miles on the odometer as an alumni listing on Bring a Trailer. Now, JP, this car has had an illustrious career. On Bring a Trailer in October of 2022, it failed to sell. Again, in July of 2023, it failed to sell. And then in November of 23, it sold. And now our owner, who's had the car for, let's call it, a year and a half, is bringing the same car with same sort of low-quality cell phone assets back to market for a fourth run on Bring a Trailer. This time the car was running with a reserve, which is shocking to me. I'm surprised that BAT granted this car a fourth run without sort of telling them you got to pull the reserve kind of thing, like no reserve. But a car ran with a reserve. It was listed out of Clearwater, Florida. The big news here, JP, is that we took a perfectly good low-mileage C4S and stuffed a single turbo under there. Then they gave it a little bit of body kit with the GT2 wing and some aftermarket kind of fake Speedline wheels. So anyways, here we go. The JP, this car is running again, and we wondered how it would go. My feeling was running for a fourth time on BAT, this car was going to have an uphill battle. Now, according to Classic.com, a standard 993 turbo would be a $200,000 conversation, but this car is not that. I actually think this car would have brought closer to 200 grand if it was just left alone as a 33,000 mile C4S in polar silver. But the modifications, I thought JP would hurt it. The fact that it run 3 times previously and it sold just a year and a half ago would also hurt it. My bid was low at $96,993. You came in 3 grand under me, JP, at $93,300. And Rami, who was joining us in studio, he came in 10 grand underneath you at just $83,000. JP, the car did better than we all thought by hammering for $102,000. But the interesting aspect here, JP, is that it sold on that number at 47 bids. John, we have the record of the sale. This guy bought the car for $128,911 back in the fall of 2023. So on top of the, let's call it $27,000 that he lost in value, plus the 5 grand he lost for paying the buyer's fee, right? So help me out on that. That's worth $32,000. How much do you think he lost in depreciation on the value of his dollar over the last 18 months? Would you add another 30% to that or 15% to that? Give me a number to add to his losses so we can quantify how hard this guy got spanked for doing such a poor job and coming back to the same thing. Give me a number. What do you say? Or give me a percentage.
I don't have a number there, but it's smart money.
Let's add 10 grand.
I mean, at least.
So
right?
40 grand. It cost him 40 grand to go back to market and dump this car that he just bought. Wouldn't he have been better off just keeping it? Like, good God.
Well, what he would have been better off is doing what we said on the last episode and taking better assets and getting rid of that stupid black, the rock guard on the side. I mean, this listing is a mess. The fact that the car has been listed so many times, this guy just lost his shorts. If he would just spent a little bit of money on better assets and cleaning up the car, he could have probably recouped. I think this car still had, even with all its faults, had potential to get up there in the 120 range. There's no reason this car shouldn't have brought at least that. This is a spectacular car, just presented terribly. Like we constantly say, if you're gonna take the time to go through the auction process, do it right. Don't half-ass it. If you half-ass it, you're going to get less than half-ass results. It's interesting. There, something I noticed on this auction, though, in the comments, it seems like some of the bidders were taking tactics here. And this is one of the things that people are constantly worried about Bring a Trailer. People, I know when you and I talk about representing folks' cars on Bring a Trailer, that's something that we do. If you have a car that you'd like to sell, but you don't want to deal with all the BAT nonsense, you don't know how to take great assets, you don't know how to take great photos and videos and all that kind of stuff, you can hire the Bid Nerds to do that. Reach out to us on Instagram on the Bid Nerds channel, and we will definitely help you out with that. But that said, there were some, I think one of the reasons why you would want to do that is because, Michael Deeb would be the person answering the questions in the comments. There was some, did you catch this, Deeb? One of the bidders, Shift Mechanism, he mentioned, somebody asked, is the body straight or was the work done? Something about one of the mods, and one of the bidders, Shift Mechanism, said the garage might have been crooked. Like, it was kind of a weird snide remark, yet he was actually one of the bidders. A lot of times people that make these snide remarks aren't the bidders. And then ultimately the guy who wound up winning the car early on in the auction was like, too bad this car is so modified, right? There was a number of times where he was basically shitting on the car, and he wound up being the winning bidder. So do those tactics work? And can those tactics be disarmed? Like, I think that's why you want to have someone like Deeb in your corner when the auction is happening, because this seller clearly didn't know how to present this car well, and they certainly didn't know how to react in the comment section. This car is an absolute fail. And one more thing before I turn it back over to you, Deeb. The one thing that the seller did do that I think The only smart thing that the person did in this entire scenario was that at about $85,000, when the bidding hit about 85 grand, he lifted the reserve and said, "Hey, we're lifting reserve. This car's going away."
There you go.
So that got some attention. So yeah, what do you think of those kind of? Are those tactics shady?
I mean, well, yeah, they're shady if they have malicious intent. They're absolutely shady. There's no way around that. But how do you police that, JP? How do you quantify whether or not it works? I mean, anything that isn't positive, it suddenly creates friction. And with friction, like any sort of ball bearing mechanism, any kind of friction is going to slow your roll. And like, you don't want to do that. You want to remove all the hurdles and all the things that are in the way on the road to the sale. That's what they teach you when you're in sales, right? Like, overcome objection and smooth, put your head down and go right to the finish line. And so, yeah, if people are pooping on the car, but they're still bidding on it, yeah, that's a conflict of interest, So it's very interesting. Dude, I think
well,
it's totally shady.
Would you, as the moderator of the sale, right? Would you go in there and go, "Hey, I appreciate the question, but is there a way to tongue in cheek? And that's pretty funny what you're trying to do. You're bidding and then knocking the car. Smooth move there. I like your style. Keep bidding. Yeah. You can say as many negative things as you want as long as you keep bidding, buddy. I think that's the way to defuse that kind of stuff. Have some fun with it. But again, congrats to the seller for making it happen.
It's very rare that the moderator comments. You know what I mean? It's only when they comment when like they're removing a bid, somebody mid to bid.
I'm sorry. Hold on. I didn't mean the moderator. I didn't mean the platform. I meant you, Michael D. I meant you as the seller moderator because you you're kind of like when you're representing the seller, you're not the seller. Yeah. So I think of you as the moderator, not the platform moderator. So maybe that was a bad choice of words. People always give us crap using the word assets. That's just advertising lingo. Whenever you have an ad campaign, all of the ad copy, the photos, the video, everything they're all called assets. So that's why we use that term. So get the hell over it for those of you who keep bitching about it. All right, but we do appreciate your comments. Make sure you hit the thumbs up and like button. Let's move on to the next car. What do we got?
Yeah. As long as you're bidding on the bid nerds. Yeah. All right, here we go. JP, another boomerang is this 1964 Beck Porsche 904 Carrera GTS replica, a Beck kit car replica utilizing a 2.7 liter flat six engine. The car looks beautiful in the red livery. And JP, you and I both admired how handsomely they appointed the interior of this car. Something I haven't seen anybody do on a Beck 904 before. And I've seen, now knowing David Keynes and Tony Mazzagatti that have some, I've looked at all the photos of them online. And this, I will say, the fit and finish of this 904, although it doesn't have the most potent engine, is arguably the nicest one I've ever seen. JP, this car ran on PCAR market not that long ago. And apparently it sold, but it failed to transact. So the car came back to market a second time. And so we wondered how it would do second time around. JP, according to Classic.com, we sort of used the last one to sell on Classic.com, which had a Metzger engine. That car brought a whopping $172,000. I thought this car had a chance to get back to the $150,000 it last hammered for. My bid was $140,904. JP, you took $1,000 underneath me at $139,904, and Rami went above us both at $147,800. All right, JP, lot to unpack here with the result, as is the case with PCAR Market. Our car hammered for $134,000, where it failed to sell on 28 bids. That's about $16,000 below what it had hammered for previously when it had failed to transact. In other words, the buyer didn't buy the car. They offered it in the deal tank for that same number at $150,000, and a couple of days later, right before we went to open up for the show tonight, the car sold on an offer at $140,000. So basically, the failure of the last winning bidder to transact the car cost the seller about $10,000. I don't fault the platform for that. It's just rotten luck. It happens. What I hope for is that PCAR Market will draw a very distinct line in the sand, and whoever that person was that failed to perform, whether it was their fault or not, You never know what's going on in somebody's life that they're like, oh, I clicked the thing, but on my way to the bank, I found out I can't spend the 150 grand. You should not be allowed to play in that platform. You can't waste sellers' time. It's not the seller's fault that this went through, and yet it cost the seller $10,000. Here's JP. I'm just spitballing. Do you think if the failed bidder gives this person 10 grand, they should be allowed to bid on PCAR market again? Like,
I think there should. Fair? Okay, here's the thing. I think there should be a blackball list. I think that there should be a wall of shame. If you remember when you used to go into a grocery store or the corner bodega and there's a picture of all the bad checks on the wall with a picture of the person's ID, the people that were trying to pass bad checks, I think there should be the same thing for BAT, for PCAR market, for cars and bids. There should be a website. There should be some kind of cooperation between all these platforms to say, hey, look, these are bad actors, and they should all have a tab on the website. These are people that are not allowed to transact. Here are their usernames. Here's their history. Just let's dox these guys. I'm not necessarily saying let's say where they actually live or work or something like that, but let's just put it out there. Hey, these are bad actors. On a lot of the forums, like back in the day when, and still, I shouldn't say back in the day, Renlist and Pelican Parts forums, those are popular places where classic Porsches are sold, 6-speed online. There's a lot of online forums where a lot of cars are transacted for enthusiasts, and all of them have bad actors tabs. Like, these are people to watch out for these scammers. Yeah. So, that ban stick should go far and wide, and I think it would be a really cool thing. I don't know. Should we set up a separate website on the Bid Nerds, make a Bid Nerd site and have a tab that these are bad people, don't buy or don't let them on any of your platforms? Or can we cross-reference? Can we go, okay, here's someone who screwed up on PCAR market. Can you go look at a database to go make sure that same idiot isn't bidding on your car on BAT because they didn't police those guys? I think that the industry needs to do a better job policing that, because we're hearing about this way more often than we used to.
Yeah, we hope that they are not allowed to continue to mess with other people's lives. But to your suggestion that we should do it, thank God you and I don't have enough time.
Yeah, I am definitely on PCAR Market's wall of shame. They don't like me. They won't let me comment on their site. I think I'm still allowed to bid, but fail to transact cover both bidders and sellers. I think that that should be
the messed up thing, man. Yeah, it's really messed up.
Because, and again,
you never know what's going on, but unless they're willing to cover what the person lost, then I think you lose your chance,
Yeah, but all those guys have to do is use a different credit card and a different username. Go on, Gmail and make a new email address. That's BS, man. There's got to be some way to police that. All right, let us know what you guys think, and let's talk about one more result before we get to some new predictions. What do we got? We should skip this one. We should totally skip this one. We should totally skip this. No, nobody wants to talk about this.
Look at that. JP, do you know what that is? That's a 1985 Honda CRX 5-speed manual.
Yeah, one of the great things about being a moderator is I can turn down the microphone on my partner who didn't get a Yahtzee. He wasn't absolutely right on this car, and I was totally wrong. Dang it. All right, go ahead and tell us about the CRX. Dang it.
Out of Oak Park, Illinois is this 68,000-mile, basically bone stock and super well preserved 1985 CRX with a manual transmission. The car was running no reserve on Bring a Trailer. JP, without further ado, according to friends at classic.com, the average selling price of a CRX is just $11,000. I guessed $12,000. You and Rami went way over. JP, your bid was 25. Rami's was 23. I suggested that to get into that range, it'd have to be at SI. You said as long as the car is this clean and this well preserved, they all deserve to be in that realm. Turned out I was right. Our car hammered for 12 grand. I got a Yahtzee. You and Rami can kiss my butt. There you go. What do you think? Are you surprised it didn't bring way more?
Obviously. I was so shocked by this result. I had to go in there and okay, what the hell? How did I get this one so damn wrong? And look, I'm not making excuses, but you look at this car and you did say straight up, this is not an SI, right? This is an HF. Yep. Those are SI seats. It's got SI clads around the side. Everything about this car screams SI, but When I looked
No
at these
VTEC.
photos originally, and that's what we do a lot of times. This is why it pays to do your research and don't listen to experts and to actually look into things yourself. Looking at these photos, I was just like, God, look how clean those seats are. This interior is great. I even mentioned how bad the floor mats were and thought that was odd given how great the seats and everything else were. It turns out the seats are replacement seats, and the clad on the side was SI, plastic that were put. This car is not original. This car has a bunch of stuff on it that makes it look like the higher trim version. I still think it's a really cool car, and it's got to be a terribly fun thing to own. And for that little money, I think it's a great buy. But yeah, if it were genuinely that, if those were the original seats and they were that clean, I think it would have brought more money. But as it turns out, the folks in the comments, there was and that's one of the benefits of buying a car and bringing a trailer is that all the people are in there talking about it, discussing it, and that was flushed out. So what do you guys think of Deeb's result, getting a Yahtzee? Did he deserve that one? Or do we take it away just because it's Michael Deeb? I don't know. I think we let him keep it. Look at that guy. He deserves one every now and then. All right, guys, we're going to make predictions. It's a holiday. Thanks for joining us on a holiday. We're not going anywhere. Stick around. We will be right back. Hey, guys, you're probably looking at your watch and wondering if Bid Nerds will ever end. So you better talk to our friends at Our Smiths to make sure your Rolex, Tag Heuer, AP, or any fine timepiece is in tip-top shape. Our Smiths. Fine Swiss repair.
I don't remember the name of it.
All right, guys, we are back. We're looking at our Aviera Our Smith watches and going, it's time to get to some predictions. But before we do that, we want to talk about our good friend Kelly Smith up in Idaho, part of the Spud Syndicate with Anthony and a bunch of the other guys up there and Kevin. There is a big, exciting event coming up on May 10th. It is Air and Coffee being put on by Curious Office. It's going to be a curated event on a Saturday with nothing but classic Porsches, and we think you should all come and hang out with us in Idaho, in Boise, Idaho, for that event. It is going to be spectacular. I've heard of some of the great cars that are going to be there, and yours truly, May 10th, May 10th for the
May
fourth
10th, and
time. For the fifth time, I will say May 10th.
And is the following day, is it Saturday and then the following day is Mother's Day? Is it something like that? Is it Mother's Day weekend?
Like that. I don't know. That's second Mother's Day or first Mother's Day, Mother's. Just if you're like, oh, my wife wants me to, because it's Mother's Day, just say we'll do it on second Mother's Day. That's also Father's Day, by the way, which we all know is just second Mother's Day. Shout out to our friends at Porsche Henderson who just had their grand opening. I know we did that at the top of the show, but we got to talk about them again because we love them and they support the show. If you need parts or service for your classic Porsche, give our friends at Gaudin Classic a call. Talk to Steve. He will get you hooked up. All right, let's get to some predictions. Crazy stuff going on in the market. A lot of the experts are just calling this wrong. They keep saying that prices are going to go up and up and up, and we're just not seeing it except in very specific cars are going up in value. Pretty much everything is holding flat or dropping pretty precipitously, and we're going to talk more about that as we make predictions. Big word. Let's get to the first car. Are the experts wrong, and are we right? What's the first car on the list, Michael D?
All right, JP, feast your eyes on the John Polnick Dream Machine. Anybody see Grease? And every time John Travolta dreamt about this beautiful convertible, this is the car that JP counts when he goes to sleep at night up there in his lofty tower. Check out this 1990 Porsche 911 Carrera 2 Coupe. And you might say, wow, Deeb, that car looks really cool. Are those BBS wheels? And say, but wait, there's more. This car has been treated to none other than a 3.8 liter conversion. So using the matching numbers block that came with the car back to, 11 years ago or something, down in Sealy, Texas, Mike Callis added Mahle pistons and to 3.8 liter and RS cams and built this stunning 3.8 liter car. Now, our donor car is a 1990 C2 Coupe showing just 61,000 miles on the odometer, but the conversion is about 11 or 12,000 miles old. Now, the car wound up spending time at Left Texas and went to the Pacific Northwest, where the owner up there drove the car, loved it, but kept thinking that the stock induction system wasn't serving the power that was going on inside the engine. So that guy got off of his wallet. Man, did he open the door to his credit card. He went out and got the Resant individual throttle bodies, utilizing that 996, 997 style, basically, what do you call it? The plenum, the intake plenum.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then the whole system is run by a Motec M84 engine management system. At that same time, that same guy went on the back end of the car and did the same thing. So he went to M&K exhaust. They did long tube headers, and then they did a 997 GT3 style center exit exhaust. So this car, JP, is basically got the best of everything. So you got the BBS wheels that are 18-inch. You got the Brembo big red calipers. You got the RS door cards. You got a short shifter. You got a close ratio gearbox. You've got an incredible 3.8 liter motor. You've got the individual throttle bodies. You got the GT3 center exit exhaust. You got the ducktail spoiler. It's got Recaro pole position seats, and then they removed the back seats. So everything on this car, JP, has been addressed, and the car is outstanding. GYX coilovers, which are a Japanese brand. This was a premium brand akin to what you might spend today on the finest stuff from KW or Oleans. And it's got a brand new set of tires on it. JP, the car is just amazing. Now, the guy in Seattle had the car for a little while. They were tracing a dripping piece of oil, and they traced it to something in the power steering, which was kind of a bummer. So what they wound up doing is they had to remove the motor and remove the side of the motor, like the cap of the motor to get to this thing. What they wound up doing at that point, essentially, JP, was removing all the valve covers, and they had taken the back off the motor. So the car has essentially been treated to a reseal about 1,000 miles ago, which is fantastic. So now there's nothing weeping from the car. The car doesn't drip oil. It's been in my garage for almost 2 months now. I can tell you the car is absolutely dry. You don't smell anything burning from the engine compartment. So the motor is clean, it's clear, it makes fantastic power, and it runs through a limited slip differential to finish it all off. There's a strut tower brace and camber plates. Like, everything has been addressed. The car is amazing. JP, when you talk about having a 964 with a built 3.8, I can't believe there's one in my garage and that I'm not buying it at this moment, because it is amazing. What I would say to those of you who have never driven a car like this is that this car is a naturally aspirated, air-cooled car that drives like a 996 GT3. It feels almost like a Metzger engine. It doesn't rev like a Metzger, but it makes power like a Metzger. It makes so much power and so much torque that it makes the car feel really, really light. And that is attributed to the way that the car is making its power. So, unbelievable machine. Low mileage donor car. It's the right colorway. It's got all the best bits. And Al Colesmall outdid the ITBs, and Chris Powell, two of the gurus that are up in the Pacific Northwest, he dialed in the Motec system. So now this car is running, and it aspirates, and it's crispy clean, and it's just unbelievable. And it absolutely turns head, and it sounds insane. And then we did a fantastic job, I think, with some of the photos. And there's a couple of cool driving videos if you get around to it. I would love to ask you to please let everybody know on the site that you watched the car being reviewed on the Bid Nerds, or drop a comment and let me answer you, and we'll just keep that engagement going. So thank you to the herd for giving this car, showing this car a little bit of love as I am selling it. And we've got a couple days to go, JP, and it's already off to a good start. It seems to have been received quite well. I know you didn't have a chance to drive this car yourself, but JP, you can imagine what this car is like. Crazy. It's closer to 350, 400 horsepower than it would be to 300 horsepower in a regular RS. It is absolutely stunning. What do you think when you look at this car? What do you think about what you see on here as far as all the parts and everything? Like, clearly they bought the best of the best and built this car. It's spectacular. What more does it need except for, like, a designer builder like a Rod Emery or somebody attached to it? But all the guys that did some of the tuning, Callis and Cosmel and Powell, all have their name attached to it. We're expecting potentially big things in a down market. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, this is exactly the kind of car I was talking about at the top of the show that is not going to be affected by downward pushes on prices. This car is going to go up. This car is going to appreciate. This car, the question is whether or not Look, I don't know how much this car was purchased for. I'm sure whoever bought or whoever built this car spent way more money, unfortunately, than this car will bring. Because I think to build that engine and to build this car, you're talking about, well over $100,000 before you even get to the car. The 3.8 is the right size engine. I mean, it's so annoying when you drive one of these. I've been lucky enough to drive, Rami's 993 RS, his Euro RS, his real one. And, every time you drive that car, you're like, man, I love 993s. And then you get into his and you're like, why weren't all of them like this? It's so annoying that they weren't all with the 3.8. I have a very good friend. We were at the Porsche Henderson grand opening, like we said earlier, last Thursday. And our good friend Mario is there, and he's in the hunt for a real 964 RS. And I was like, and he's actually been looking for a while. They're kind of hard to find. And I'm like going, bro, go take a look at this car. I mean, you can fly up and see, just spend the $75 or $150 on Spirit Airlines and go up there in the morning, and Deeb will pick you up and you can go drive this thing. I think he should buy this car instead of a real RS and drive the living piss out of this, because Mario drives with us. He goes and takes road trips. This is the kind of car that you can get into. It doesn't matter how many miles you put on it. You would have to put 50,000 miles on this car to depreciate this car. Whatever you buy it for, just drive the living hell out of it. It won't matter. You can put miles after miles after miles, and the value is going to stay the same. I wish I were in the market for this car. I would love to bid on it. Sadly, I think it's going to get out of my price range. Deeb, should we talk about numbers? What do we think?
Yeah, so it's interesting, JP. According to our friends at classic.com, a standard car, the donor car of this car, a 964 C2 Carrera with a manual transmission from 1990 is a $99,000 car on average in the secondary market. Now, remember, our donor car only has 61,000 miles on the rolling chassis and just 11,000 miles and change on the rebuild, and the car has basically been resealed about 1,500 miles ago. So this car is as fresh as it gets, and everything else on the car is brand new. The wheels, the brakes, the suspension, they've all got 10,000 miles on them. They're barely broken in. So JP, I'm going to recuse myself from bidding because I am actually selling the car. This car belongs to a client of mine. He's entrusted me to bring it to market. Part of the job of hiring me or the bidders is that we get to brag about the car on the show and bring all this attention to it. So JP, you know these cars really well. What do you think a car with all the best bits and super low miles, and hopefully everybody agrees is a nice presentation on the biggest platform in the world, might bring when it hammers 2 days from now? Our car is currently sitting at $75,964 on 7 bids, and it essentially closes on Tuesday in the afternoon. So where are you at, JP?
Yeah, it's a tough one because, 964s, like I said, are very popular. This is the car that everybody wants. This is way better than a 964 RSA, like an RS America. The RSA, unfortunately, is going to be probably a better appreciating car, but that, unlike this car, I mentioned that you could drive the living hell out of this car and not depreciate it. You buy something special like an RSA and you're going to depreciate it. This car you can get in. It's just, like I said, there's just no guilt to enjoy this car. And it's better than an RSA. It's not quite as good as a real Euro RS, but it's going to be half the money. I'm going to say it does 150,964, and it has potential to go way higher from there. We have bids coming in anywhere from as low as 120 all the way up to 220,000 from the nerd herd there. How awesome would that be? Buddha thinks it's only going to get 95. I'm wondering what he thinks about that. I know Buddha is in the market for like a $40,000 daily. Everybody give Buddha some. What would you buy if you were Buddha and you wanted something cool as a daily? He already has a 911. He already has a track car, but he wants to replace his Toyota Avalon that he's been driving for, I don't know, a million years. He wants a daily driver. We live in Vegas and it's hot here. This 964, fantastic. Unfortunately, that's going to be out of Buddha's price range, but I do think it's gonna be an exciting one to watch. Great job on the assets, Deeb. The car looks fantastic. The driving video makes me want to get in there. I wish they would have sprung so much money for so many different cool things on this car. I wish they would have sprung for leather pole positions. I think that really would have made this thing pop. I think it's one of those details that if anything's going to hurt it, and I know that just sounds dumb, but I think that's the one thing that really could have made a really big difference. It's like a nice watch or wheels or something like that. Yeah.
I'll track down the previous owner of the car and tell him he was cheap when he bought the seats. And let him know.
I'm just saying, the current owner could have done it. All right, guys, what do you think this 964 will bring? Let us know in the comments below. I sure wish it were going in my garage. All right, let's get to the next car. What do we got?
Yeah, let's run through these, JP, as we're going to try and cover 4 cars. John, we are going to examine as a luxury car, a contemporary luxury car depreciating in the secondary market. Mm-hmm. Let us examine this 2018 Bentley Bentayga, which I've never actually tried to pronounce. I hope I'm saying that correct. Bentley Bentayga, which is a W12 motor, by the way. So a twin turbocharged 6-liter W12. That thing is an absolute rocket ship. John, I don't know what these things cost when they were brand new, but I'm guessing they were $300,000 or $400,000. Is that fair to say? Do we have a window sticker?
Yeah, I don't know.
Our car is showing 35,000 miles, and let's see, it was $250,000 when it retailed as brand new, which is a little less money than I thought it was going to be. I thought it would have cost more, especially with the W12. Our car is an alumni listed on Bring a Trailer. The current owner apparently bought the car back in 2024. So in May of 2024, with just 25,000 miles on the odometer in Las Vegas, Nevada, the car sold for just $94,000. JP, the car doesn't close for 3 days from now. It now has 34,000 miles on the odometer, and it's currently sitting at just 52,500. John, I think that this is going to not hurt because the guy put 10,000 miles on it. He's had it for a year. But I think that depreciation is going to be like, we're talking 15, 20% easy. Where are you at on the Bentley Bentayga?
Oof. Aside from the fact that this thing's stupid, I don't know who the moron that bought this originally. Everybody knows that these depreciate horribly off the lot. But all that said, there is a repo apocalypse going on right now. It was issuing all over experts at the top of the show. One expert that I do trust is our good friend Lucky Lopez over there. Check out his channel. He's here in Vegas. He's really in it when it comes to like real nitty gritty used car stuff. That guy's a down and dirty car dealer, and he's telling me, listen to this. This is the kind of there's so many cars. There are more there are more deficient loans out there than there were in 2008 and 2009 during the Great Recession.
Wow.
We are looking at all-time record high deficiencies on people being late on their car payments. On top of that, there are not enough repo drivers out there to pick up the cars. And I wanted to talk about this car in particular because the repo drivers, not only are there not enough of them, but the repo lots are full. So even if there were drivers, they don't have places to put the cars that they're pulling in. And the repo drivers are being selective about the vehicles that they will actually go out and get. The repo guys are not picking up cars that are like older than 2019. Because the newer cars are the cars that are more likely to do at least okay or recoup most or some of the money at the auctions. So the top tier banks are paying $1,000 or more to get cars hooked. Right. So this Bentayga, this thing, it's entirely maybe not this one in particular, but so many people are so buried upside down on these luxury SUVs. Urus, anyone? There are so many people that have, that went out and bought something like this at the top of the, back in 2023 when money was cheap, and they bought something like this for $200,000, and now the thing's maybe worth $60,000, and they still owe $150,000, right? The bank has no chance of recouping their money, even if they hook it and put it back in and put it in an auction. So the repo guy, they're not paying top dollar for these high-end luxury SUVs because the banks don't even want them. They'd rather have the repo guys go out and hook a Toyota Sienna that's upside down. So look, nobody wants this thing. Someone's going to steal it. This has Buddha written all over it. That's why I picked it for you, buddy. I know it's going to go for a little bit more than $40,000, but I'd love to look, if you could steal this thing for 65 or 70, hell yeah. What do you think it's going to bring, dude?
JP, just picture this as Buddha's car with like some Grateful Dead sticker in the rear.
Come on, a big old dead head. The skull right on the side of this thing would look dope. He's got a season's pass at the Sphere. He goes to every showing over there when they do the deadhead thing. So what's Buddha gonna have to pay for this car?
All right, not much, JP. So according to our friends at classic.com, the 2018 Bentayga W12 sells in the secondary market for an average of just $101,000. This guy bought the car last year in the spring for $94,000. JP, our car is currently sitting at just $52,500. That comes to us by way of only 4 bids. Now, it does have 3 days to go until it closes, but JP, my bid is going to be just $78,000. I think it's going to cost this guy $26,000 and change to get off of this car and avoid the hook, as you say. $78,000 is my bid, JP. It's at 52 now. Where are you at?
Well, Stefan says, well, the bank pays the repo fee up front. That's true, they do, but they're not they know that they can't recover all the vehicles that are delinquent, so they're not even bothering on some vehicles. They're like, oh, screw it. Go get the ones that we can recoup. They're not even going after these ones that are so far upside down. They'll just, basically sue the guy. Okay. What's that?
The bank is retailing cars. They're wholesaling and retailing the cars that they're collecting, and half the time, JP, they're not recovering the money that's owed on them. They're just letting the car go to get something back and to take it away from the person who's been getting over on them. So
they'd rather have the losses on the books now with some kind of optimism for the next quarter, the quarter after that they'll actually be able to sell something later and have that on their ledger, money that they can lend out. Well, your number was what? What was it?
78,000 to you, John. Where you at?
And it's at 60 what now?
It's at 52,500.
69,999. I don't think it's going to break 70 grand. FTS, this guy's stuck with it. What a boat. Let's move on. What's the next car? I hope Buddha can steal it. Buddha, you'd look good in this rig, man. This is for you.
You would look good in that. All right, JP, on cars and bids right now is a 1991 Chevrolet Corvette ZR1 with just 12,600 miles and a 6-speed manual. The car is completely unmodified and listed again on Cars and Bids at a Prosper, Texas. 12,000 miles running no reserve. JP, here's a car that I think a lot of people put away as a speculation piece. This was supposedly the holy grail of the C4 Corvette, the ZR1. And yet these cars stopped appreciating, and now they're depreciating at a rapid pace. JP, this car is kind of in trouble, and the guy's running at no reserve on what I think is maybe not the optimum platform to sell a ZR1. I think this car with better assets would have done better on the bigger platform. I think it would struggle on Cars and Bids. I think Cars and Bids is a great place to go with a contemporary SUV. I don't think a collectible Corvette is the place for this. Heck, this car would do better on Hemmings or Haggerty's little tiny auction platforms than it would on Doug DeMiro's site. Despite his audience, I don't think he's going to find a retail buyer, and this guy is running the car no reserve. So JP, why don't we just jump into the numbers? Our car is sitting at $15,500 on a respectable 13 bids, but that's a long way to go from the average, according to our friends at classic.com, of $35,000. JP at just 15.5, and it closes essentially to Tuesday. I think the car is going to struggle to find 20 grand. Red over red. The ZR1, it's the ZR1.1, not the .2. JP, my bid is just $18,991. I don't think it'll make it to 20 grand. The average is 35. This car's got super low miles, but these cars are falling fast. Where are you at on this car running no reserve on Doug DeMiro's site?
Yeah, I'm pretty soft on the C4s. I kind of love the way they look because it's, this is a young timer car. This is a car that was popular when we were in high school, and a lot of the millennial kids really like these because they remember from when they were actually children. And so these are kind of getting popular. I reached out to my good friend Leif Buig. His son has a C4 vet. He doesn't have a ZR1. The thing is, the regular ones are just so gutless and disappointing, right? They sound cool, but you get them. They're just you want it to be awesome, and it sounds like it's going to be. It's got this big old V8 in it, and you're just like, this thing's going to be great, and they just disappoint. Whereas the ZR1 actually has the juice to match the squeeze, and this car, I think, would be a great car to have as an enthusiast car. If they're only going for $35,000, this is so much car for so little money. This thing would ish all over, a G-body regular 911. That said, you're absolutely right. There's no way this Cars and Bids is not the platform. The boomer that wants this thing doesn't even know what Bring a Trailer is, much less Cars and Bids. I reached out to my good friend Ed Steenman from Steenman Associates, an ad agency I've been working with for many years. He's a contributor for Dealer Marketing Magazine. He did an article about the Bid Nerds. It should be coming out in their magazine here sometime in the next couple of weeks. I invited him on the show because, he's been in the car business forever, right? He's a boomer, but he's a great guy. But he knows the car business inside and out. All his clients are car dealerships. He's had literally 1,000 car dealerships over, a 40 or 50 year career. Yet he didn't really understand. He didn't know what Bring a Trailer was. Like, so many people in the business do not understand the Bring a Trailer car auction and site. In fact, at one point, and I love you, Ed, but I got to share this. It was like we were going, at some point, I think he thought that when I said enthusiast car auction site, I think they thought I meant people that were enthusiasts for car auction sites, not enthusiast cars, right? It's like it just doesn't click to the boomer brain. So it took a lot to get that through to him, but it finally did.
Punctuation.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, this particular car, what was your number, Deeb?
Just $18,991. I don't think it'll break 20
now?
off.
Where's it at now?
It's at $15,501.
I'm taking the under. I'm going 17 grand. I just think this thing is going to languish. I think you're absolutely right. If it were on BAT, I think this thing would get 25, maybe even close to 30. Because I think they are cool cars. What's that?
Running no reserve. It only takes two guys to fight over it. This car can easily close at 25. But I just feel like this was an error in judgment to bring this car at no reserve to this platform.
All right, let's quickly do two more cars. Let's do power fast. What do we got this first? Because we can talk more about these on the next show.
Yeah, so we have a Euro 1988 Volkswagen Scirocco 16 valve that is running on Bring a Trailer right now. JP, the Euro cars make a little more horsepower in their state of tune, 137 versus, say, 123. Basically, these cars have about 15 more horsepower. Some cool aftermarket wheels. JP, I'm guessing that interior is not original, that it's been reupholstered in something that I don't really like. But the Porsche 911 steering wheel is a nice touch, and you and I are both huge fanboys of the Scirocco 16 valve. So a cool car with a little bit of sort of cool European cachet and a slightly, I'm assuming, higher compression ratio motor make this one probably a bargain even on BAT. JP, the car closes here tomorrow. Why did you select this one? Was there anything I missed?
Yeah, I just want to bid on it. What do you think?
All right, JP. So according to our friends at Classic.com, Scirocco 16 valves typically bring about $21,000 in the secondary market. Despite this car having a cooler motor and looking to be in really good condition for its 150,000 miles on the odometer, our car closes tomorrow and it's sitting at just $4,600. So it's got way too far to go to get anywhere near the average. JP, I'm afraid I'm going to bid just $14,000 for the hammer on this one. Where are you at?
Yeah, I'd be shocked if this thing even breaks 10,000, unfortunately. Looking at the poor results of that CRX, which should be more popular, and there's a lot more enthusiasts that are looking for CRXs than Scirocco's, and as much of a Scirocco lover as I am, this car is part of my heritage. Love those Ronald wheels. Oh my God, those arrows are so badass. I want this car, and hell, maybe I'll even bid on it, but I'm going to say 88, and that's it.
All right. One more car, JP. A couple of weeks ago, we had Jason Roth, who's the newest car dealership up in Seattle, Washington area. Jason was a sport and came on the show and did third nerd with us. This is a car that he bought, and now that he's got his dealer license, he's bringing the car to market. So his friend Dino, the seller, DM7, is handling the transaction for him. Look at these beautiful assets. What we're talking about, JP, is a 1996 Porsche 911 Carrera Coupe. This is a two-wheel drive coupe with just 102,000 miles on the odometer. The big news is a rare shade in iris blue, the fixed back sport sheets, the hardback sport sheets, and then this car has also been treated from the factory to the MO30 sports suspension. So JP, this car sits right, it looks right, and it's got some really cool driver-focused options. Obviously, this car was ordered bespoke by its first owner. JP, according to our friends at Classic.com, 1996 standard Carrera 2s with a manual bring $86,000 in the secondary market. Despite having over 100,000 miles on the odometer, my bid on this car is going to be $106,000 for the three reasons I gave you: iris blue, hardback sports seats, and MO30 suspension. That is like the trifecta of used air-cooled Porsches. And for that reason, I think some collector is going to overlook the odometer, buy this car, and hopefully drive the snot out of it, because this is as good as it gets without having RS and another $150,000 on the price tag. So JP, 106 grand to you. Where are you at?
Yeah, I think it's really pretty, and the sport backs definitely help, but the color of the interior does not. This car is spectacular. What a driver class. I'm going to go $99,300. And wish him luck. I hope he gets way, way, way more than that.
All right.
All right, guys, that is a show. Thanks for hanging out. We will see you Wednesday night. We're going to take you out with the teaser for the Kremer. See you guys Wednesday night.